Hey everyone, in this video I'll show you how to create a project and import a sample into StraboMicro. So the first thing we want to do is head over to File up here at the top, and we have two options. We can either import a new project or import a project from field data. The field data option is for when you have a sample that you collected using the Strabo Field app, and you can bring that straight into StraboMicro. I'll talk about that in detail in the next video. For now, let's just create a new project. So here we can fill in some details and we'll give it a project name. So I'll call it StraboMicro tutorial. We can set a start date, so I'll just go with today, and you can set an end date if you'd like. We can do purpose. So this would be the purpose of your study. You can put in your other team members here. If you're working in a particular area, this is where you can fill that in. This is for your GPS datum, so by default it's still WGS84. I'll leave that there. And here you can fill in your magnetic declination and some notes about your project. So I'll tap next. It'll ask us to create a data set name. I'll just stick with default here, that's fine. So now it goes straight into the sample. So we'll put in some information about our sample. The main things we have to fill in are the label and the sample ID or name. So I'll just call it sample1, and the sample specific ID will be sample1A, as an example. If you know where your sample came from, this is where you can fill in the coordinates. Here, your main sampling purpose. So I'll just go microstructure in this case. You can put in a description about your sample here. It'll ask you about material type. In this case, I'll go intact rock. How in place is it? We'll go definitely in place. And was your sample oriented? If it wasn't, go ahead and say no. I'll just put yes as an example. And then we can put in some notes about the orientation here. We can put in a note about how big the sample was and if it was weathered. And then you can put in some other notes about your sample. I'll tap next, and it'll ask for the reference micrograph. So I'll go ahead and I'll open my reference micrograph. This is what it looks like. And I'll open that up. And I'll go next. Then it'll ask you some questions about what instrument you used. So you can go ahead and tap Find Instrument in Database. So if whatever you're using has been input into our database, you can go ahead and click it there. Otherwise, we can fill in the information ourselves. So in this case, this is an optical microscopy image, and the image type we're looking under cross polars. I'll go next. And here it'll ask you some information about what instrument you've used, so what microscope it was, what software you used for your data collection, and your post-processing. So you can fill that out if you'd like. If you want your instrument to go into that templates page, you can find all the information for that on strabospot.org. So here, I'll just leave this blank for now, and I'll go next. So here we can name the micrograph itself. So I'll call it something like sample1. This was taken at 2x, and it's an XPL image. So I'll just do that. And notes about micrograph in here. If it was polished, you can tick that and give some description. And I'll go next. So if our micrograph was oriented here, we can either give the trend and plunge of the surfaces and the strike and dip here, or we can just define it in terms of the fabric reference frame. So in this case, this thin section was cut on the kinematic plane. That's the XZ plane. So parallel to lineation and perpendicular to foliation. I could feed in the strike and dip of my foliation and the trend and plunge of my lineation. And here I'm looking down through the micrograph, so we're looking into the lower hemisphere here. Next, it'll ask me to define the top corner of my image, so whichever corner of the micrograph is highest geographically. I'll go with the top left corner and go next. And then to set the scale of our image, we have a couple of options. We can either go ahead and trace the scale bar on the image itself, or we can use a pixel conversion factor, or we can just provide the width and height of the image if we know that. So in this case, I'll trace my scale bar. So it'll show me my image, and I can drag around in here. So I have the mouse selected. If I switch over to the line, I can draw my line. So I'll zoom into my scale bar. And what we can do is draw a line. So I've tapped the line button here. And then I click once here to make a point. and I'll click once here to make a point. So that's our line in pixels, and that's 1,000 micrometers. Finish. And that will save your image out. So now on the left, you can see sample 1A, and then the micrograph name is sample 1, 2x XPL, and it's a reference micrograph. Here we can move around, pan in and out, that sort of thing. So I'll talk more about what else we can do in the next video.